Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to give you a quick update on my Taxxas X-MAXX 8S that I got about a week ago, and I've been driving it for the last couple of days. It's taken a lot of abuse. I've been doing jumps, bigger and bigger jumps. It flipped a bunch of times. I crashed it a bunch of times, and unfortunately I've damaged a couple of pieces. Some of them are sort of design flaws. Some of them are my faults. So today I'm going to show you what those things are, and we're also going to upgrade a couple of things to prevent damage from happening in the future and to prolong the life of other components. But before we get started, let me quickly show you what the truck looks like right now. So obviously a lot of damage and scrapes on the bumper, nothing to be concerned about. One of the issues I had was that the tire actually came unglued. I don't know if this is when I hit something. There are some scrapes here, or maybe it just wasn't properly glued from the factory, so I just used super glue. Yes, I know this is not the best method of gluing these tires, but I don't know how long these are gonna last, so for now I use super glue and it worked very, very well. Staying around the back, these trucks are known for this section of the body to be damaged because as you flip it and it lands on this section, the body sort of caves in and eventually breaks off. So you can see there's a lot of sort of breakage areas here and a lot of creases. There's a crease right over here, so I do not expect this to last me a long time. Obviously there's a lot of damage on the roof when it flips, especially on the pavement. It lands on it and it scrapes. And then moving to the front, obviously the bumper is very much scratched up. We bumped it and flipped it a couple of times. And next, let me take this off and show you what the inside looks like. On the inside, when I flip these wheels, I have to say that both of my front shocks are leaking. I don't know if this is a design flaw or what, or is it something that I've damaged, but both shocks started leaking actually at the end of day one of me driving it. So I reached out to the company, see what it is that they can do, if they can do anything. But yeah, the backs are fine. The front are a little moist at the bottom, so I think the pistons just are not sealing properly. And on the flip side, this is what it looks like. So yeah, a lot of damage from scraping and bottoming out. These control arms or A-arms are looking quite beat up, but they're very, very beefy. So I'm not really too worried. You can see the leaky shocks, both of them. So these are the two front leaky shocks. I did notice that the car actually is a bit bouncy up front, so perhaps it was just a factory flaw. But again, I'm reaching out to the company. Let's see what they can do. The body, obviously no scrapes. It's just a bit dirty. The back has taken a lot of abuse because from all the landing on the pavement that we did, when it bottoms out, this is the area that gets hit and scraped the most. And obviously the wheelie bar, nothing really to be concerned about. So let's go ahead and flip it now and start modding and fixing things. And these are the mods we're going to be installing today. This is the skid plate that has great reviews on Amazon. I'm going to link it below. The only concern is that I wonder how much weight it adds. It doesn't feel too heavy, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're jumping this truck, I wonder if this is necessary. So let's see, we're gonna put it on, let's see if it gets really, really heavier. Then this thing, threaded hinge pins for the X-MAXX. Essentially, the way the suspension is attached, and I'm gonna show you once I take the wheel off, you've got these pins that are very, very poorly designed. So this fixes this issue of these pins essentially popping out. And the last thing is, I actually did not highlight it when I was showing you the damage of the truck, rear axle carriers. So these are basically the carriers for the back, and as you can tell, my bearing has sustained a bit of a damage. You see that bearing dust cover that's just dangling? Again, that happened at the end of day one, and I did notify the company. I wasn't even abusing the truck, but that's what happened. The more I read about these things, the more I'm realizing that this is actually a design flaw, and RPM, which is the company that came up with a solution, has developed an upgraded system that uses a much bigger inner bearing. So that bearing on the inside is actually going to be a lot bigger, which will be able to handle a lot more abuse and hopefully will not get damaged. First thing we do is we're just going to take the wheel off. And I'm going to let you in a little secret. I actually do have upgraded wheels. I'm not going to be installing them just yet. I'm waiting for these to take a lot more abuse. I am putting my Taxxas tool set to the test today. Next, we grab a little punch tool and essentially you just punch these guys out. See, they just simply fall out. The arm drops and the bottom one also falls out. And the axle itself will pop out, which is actually no big deal because the axle, if it pops out, it simply just pops back in. It's not a very intricate design, but this allows us to get rid of that bad bearing cover. And here for your viewing pleasure, we've got the OEM axle carrier and we've got the RPM one. First thing to notice is they are both marked left, so they are directional. And as you can tell, this is the upgraded bearing from RPM and this is the stock bearing. So obviously it won't fit in the housing, but this goes to show you how tiny the stock bearing is and why it tends to fail. So if we put this guy in here, you could see how different and how much bigger it is. And obviously it's going to take a lot more abuse. One thing to notice is that the outer bearings are reused. So essentially we just pop them out and you simply just push it back in place and it's good to go. And before we put everything back together, we're going to convert these pins to these threaded hinge pins. And it's super simple. The only thing you have to do is you have to drill these things out because obviously these pins are meant to be stopped by this guy down there. So you have to drill this whole thing out. It'll allow you to put this threaded hinge pin and this will never fall out. And the upgrade is very, very straightforward. Grab a drill that's of the proper size. Drill it through. Then grab the threaded piece. See if it's large enough. If it's not large enough, you simply re-drill. Perfect. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. And then assembling it, you put the shorter piece at the bottom. And now we take our pins, push it through. It should go all the way through. Same thing on the other side. Whoops. It goes all the way out. And this is what it looks like on this side. Then the last step is simply closing the nuts. And this made me realize I do not have the right set of tools, so I am using my automotive tools. And this is the final product. These are guaranteed not to ever back out. So these will give you a lot of peace of mind. And these axle carriers are super, super beefy. And as you can tell, the bearing on the inside is massive. And at the end, we just have to put this guy in, put the tire back on, and repeat the same process across the remaining 3 corners. Done. The hinge pins have been upgraded. The rear carriers have been upgraded. And again, take a look at how beefy they are. Look at this. If these go bad, then we're gonna have some other issues. Anyways, let's get back to the next mods. So next we're gonna flip it upside down and take care of this skid plate. So essentially the skid plate is designed to go like this. The company gives you longer screws, and essentially what you do is you take out the original ones and you put the longer ones in. The idea is to prevent damage like this from occurring, because eventually as you keep bashing the bottom, eventually you might break this. So instead of this taking the abuse, the aluminum piece is designed to take the abuse. Installing it is going to be pretty straightforward. The only thing you have to pay attention for, these things are directional. So if you put this cover on that side, it might not fit properly. But what I'm thinking actually is I might actually skip these things, because I cannot imagine that this takes any abuse, and that's just going to be some weight saving for me. Even this is probably not necessary. So you know what? In the interest of shedding weight or adding as little weight as possible, we're just going to do the front and the back. And we're done. This was super easy to do. The screws fit very well. The fitment is awesome. And again, this goes to show you that you don't necessarily need to put the middle pieces, and you are saving yourself a good amount of weight. So we're gonna put those aside. We're gonna store them, but this is gonna be ready to take some abuse. And just like with any car modification, if you wanna keep your stock parts, you wanna label them properly. So I'm putting the skid plate screws in a bag and putting them in a safe place. And we're done. As you can tell, these are very easy to do mods, but they'll give me the peace of mind from knowing that I'll be protecting my my truck a little better. Now, I've got a couple of other mods here that are waiting to be installed, but I won't do it today because I wanna experience this first and then keep adding and making more videos for you. So anyways, this is again the skid plate. What it looks like, check this out. It looks pretty wicked. It's got this little Max logo up front, and look, as you bottom out, it hits, and hopefully it'll give us some added protection. On that note, I wanted to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.